Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. It is my honor to welcome all of you, all of us together, inshallah, to enjoy this beautiful evening. Who else is as impressed as I am with this haram-like, Makkah-like setup on the floor? If you are, say Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Really, when we were trying to figure out how we're going to fit so many people here, you know, one of the people shared an idea and said, well, how do they do it in Mecca? And so we decided to do it that way. And so I really want to just take first 1 second, if all of you would join me in making a short dua for the team of volunteers, the vast majority of whom were teenagers and college students and people in their 20s. And of course, the rest of us also who helped in just doing this wonderful setup. So, Jazakumullahu khair to all the volunteers. May Allah reward you for the fast of each fasting person here who broke their fast today. Ameen. Say Allahu Akbar. All right, so with that, we're going to start the wonderful program tonight, inshallah. Of course, as with any auspicious beginning, we'd like to start with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so I invite Sheikh Muhammad Shakir, who is also the Quran Institute principal here at the ISBCC. For those of you who don't know, the Quran Institute is a program that runs mainly on the weekend that teaches Quran, tajweed, memorization, all of that to people of different ages, including adults. And Sheikh Muhammad Shakir is a local community leader at the ISBCC who's leading that institute. Jazakumullah khair, Sheikh Muhammad.
مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء والله واسع عليم. الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله ثم لا يتبعون ما أنفقوا منا ولا أذى لهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. قول معروف ومغفرة خير من صدقة يتبعها أذى والله غني حليم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تبطلوا صدقاتكم بالمن والأذى كالذي ينفق ماله رئاء الناس ولا يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فمثله كمثل صفوان عليه تراب فأصابه وابل فتركه صلدا لا يقدرون على شيء مما كسبوا والله لا يهدي القوم الكافرين. ومثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم ابتغاء مرضات الله وتثبيتا من أنفسهم وتثبيتا من أنفسهم كمثل جنة بربوة أصابها وابل فآتت أكلها ضعفين فإن لم يصبها وابل فطل والله بما تعملون بصير. صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakumullah khair, Sheikh Muhammad. So if, as all of you may have noticed, or maybe not because the food was so delicious, if you look around you, either in front of you or a couple of spaces to the right or to the left of you, you'll see a booklet on the, whatever you call this, on the spread. And so this booklet is just a short, informal report about this past year at the ISBCC. So you can look through it over the time or at some point during the evening. It has a lot of the key things that we've done. Also, of course, the financials at a high level, as well as some of the key challenges and accomplishments and opportunities that we face, and of course, who the board members are and all of that. So you can take a look at this. We thought it would be more better, rather than being wasteful and printing out 500-600 copies. We printed just a few. But if you would like to take a copy home and you didn't get one, you can get in touch with us, but it'll also be on the website. You can just download it from there, inshallah. But let me start by saying that I remember when I first came to Boston, it was about 14 years ago now. I can't even believe it. It's almost half my age I've spent in Boston here, a little bit older than that. But when I first came here, of course, there was no ISBCC at that time. I started out as a student at MIT, and I used to go to a mosque there in Cambridge. And I remember people talking about this project, and I had a good friend of mine, Abdurrahman Kandil and Abdullah Kandil, his brother, who were classmates a few years younger than me. And this idea of ISBCC was just a dream, or just something, you know, people in the community talked about. I felt I was from somewhere else. And then one day, I saw someone with the same last name as my friends in the newspaper, and with some very bad, bad stories that tried to malign the father of my friend Abdurrahman and Abdullah. And if those of you who've been in here, Boston, long enough and know the story of the ISBCC, know what I'm referring to. This is when the project of the ISBCC, it got started out with a lot of enthusiasm, and then suddenly, out of left field, it underwent some of the most serious attacks of Islamophobia that an institution can undergo here in the United States. And what followed were a series of lawsuits, media attacks on Fox, on the Herald, and so forth. And it was a tough, tough time for the community. Many of us weren't there at that time, and many of us were key supporters during that time. And my formative experience in getting involved in Islamic work were during those first few years. And really, it first just started out of shock, out of what was happening to my friend's family and other families like him who were key people involved in the ISBCC. But what led from there is to getting involved in this idea of building this dream that could really take the Boston Muslim community and the national Muslim community, play a role in that to a different level. And so really, this previous phase of the ISBCC, because I believe we are on the brink of a new phase that really marks the time that the ISBCC will come into flourishing and living out the hopes and dreams of especially all of those key supporters, many of whom of you are here now, that persevered through those hard times. Because the first phase that we've had these previous 5 years of completing the ISBCC, inaugurating the ISBCC, withstanding the attacks, and going beyond the immediate initial financial crises at the ISBCC. So that getting this baby, if you will, born was what this last few years were. And now we're on the brink of a new phase where we have a talented young new leadership coming in, of course marked first and foremost by the arrival of Imam Suhaib Webb, which I think is a tremendous blessing from Allah. I think all of you probably share that view. It took us many years. I know many of us, myself included, the last few years were very we're very inconsolable in many ways that we have this wonderful center, but how do we get the right spiritual leader here to really also lead the spiritual life of this center? Alhamdulillah, Allah blessed us with getting Imam Suhaib for that. So say takbir, Allahu Akbar. So we're very glad for that, and later on down the evening, Imam Suhaib is going to share his thoughts on why did he even come here. Because as you can imagine, once Imam Suhaib came back from Al-Azhar, and even while he was at Al-Azhar and he was abroad, he was perhaps one of the most sought after Muslim speakers, not in the US, but in the entire world. And so, why would Imam Suhaib choose to come here? So this is something that I'll leave to Imam Suhaib to answer later. But this is certainly a ni'mah from Allah, and of course it's putting a lot of weight on Imam Suhaib's shoulders. I don't blame him for hiding right now, but he will share that with us later. But let me share with you in the meantime of just a quick flyover summary of, at least in this past year, what we, all of us, you and I, have been able to accomplish in this past year. I won't belabor the details because you can find a lot of it in here, but just at the highest level, in terms of programs, there's been more programs and services at the ISBCC in this past year than at any time in the previous 3 years. Just as an example, I'm just going to mention a few sampling. So education about Islam and Da'wah, for example, a lot of it is led by Sister Barbara Sahli and Ahmed Rashid and so forth. Just in the last 6 months, we've had over 85 people who've converted to Islam. In the 6 months, they've become a dynamic community with a lot of convert events now, convert dinners, special halaqas for them, support services and all of that. We have the Islam 101 program that happens every Monday. There's a class, and every Monday you have invariably new people who come in off the street who want to learn more. Why do they come in? Because part of this program is that we run ads on the T. You may have seen some of them on the orange line, the red line, and the green line even now. Ads about the Islam 101 and the class, and so people come in for that. We have about 15 tour groups that come to the ISBCC each month. Each tour group is about 20 people, 15 to 20 people, so we have about 200 to 300 people each month who come and learn about the ISBCC, about Islam, see a worship, listen to the khutbah. And then, so in this past year, we've had about 2,500 to 3,000 people come and learn about Islam. So that's just educating about Islam and Muslims. Then programs for youth and families, I mean, there's so many, but I'll only name a couple. We have the Deen for Teen Halaqa that Imam Suhaib helps run. We have the teens youth groups on the brothers and sisters side that have the qiyams. We had the 2-day Seerah event with Imam Suhaib during spring break. They have so many trips, kayaking, backpacking, hiking, so forth. There's the after-school program run by Brother Saeed and his team in partnership with United Somali Alliance. We had the Mother's Daughter book clubs, the family day that we had, so many, the Mother's Day dinner, all of these youth and teen activities, which are organized mainly by teens and by college students for teenagers. So this is a lot of what's happening. Then Islamic learning. Of course, getting an Azhari scholar, Imam Suhaib, has really allowed us to give an offering of Islamic learning. But just in these last 6 months that Imam Suhaib has come, he didn't spare any time and ramped up right away. And we had the Tafsir Halaqa every Friday, which gets about 150 to 300 people. It's a big range that comes every Friday. We have the Quran Halaqa and Tajweed memorization every week with Sheikh Muhammad Shakir. We have the courses that Imam Suhaib taught, full proper 3-month courses with homework and all of that. It was Usul al-Fiqh, the 40 Hadith Nawawi, Tazkiyatun Nafs, based on a text by Imam al-Muhasibi, the advanced Arabic grammar, the beginning Arabic. Then you had the weekend workshops with guest scholars. And then you have the weekend schools, 90 students in the Al-Bashair school, about 100 students in the Quran Institute, and then the Malik Academy full-time elementary school that runs about 45 students. So that's altogether about 250 students that are being served on a weekly and some of them on a daily basis by the ISBCC. And then you have the community services. You have the Al-Marhama burial service that ISBCC offers, which is a full, there's the body washing facility downstairs, so you can do it with dignity and with the full Islamic rituals. You have the Janazah service and the Islamic graveyard, which does fully direct burial in the ground and can help you from beginning to end. And we're now in the process of training. We've actually now invested in the tuition to pay a Muslim brother to become a fully licensed, I forget what it's called, a funeral director, I believe. And so once that's accomplished, that'll take about 2 years. Once that's accomplished, we won't even need to use an outside funeral home. And so we'll be the first licensed funeral director as well, certainly in all of New England, but maybe even on the East Coast, I'm not sure. So that's a community service that we provide. Of course, you have the matrimonial service, and then we're about to launch a formal fatwa service. You'll be hearing about it in the next 2 months with all the brochures and the website, where any individual who's facing a particular circumstance in their life that they need fiqhi guidance, not counseling, but fiqhi guidance about, you can solicit a personal fatwa with respect to your situation, and between Imam Suhaib and Imam Basuni and their resources, they will provide that customized fatwa for you. And this is a tremendous thing. You know, we take it for granted perhaps abroad, but we don't have that here locally, and we will have that fatwa service. Imam Suhaib obviously comes from having served at the Darul Ifta, or the house of giving fatwa in Egypt. So he'll bring that service here. And then for emergency relief to the community, we've partnered with ICNA Relief, who's doing tremendous work, Sister Malika. And so we provide emergency relief for needy individuals, needy families, emergency help with food, rent, utility bills, that sort of thing. And the Zakat al-Fitr program that you all will pay will feed that program to give around Eid to needy families. And I could go on, but there's just so many more programs. That was a sampling that I have. I could give you more. Now, even when I was thinking through preparing for this, even I was humbled by how many programs we have, because each one of us probably just comes and enjoys 1 or 2 of these programs. But I wanted all of us to have an appreciation and a bird's eye view of what all of you are doing. Because really this is all possible because of all of you, especially those of you who are putting your time and volunteering effort in, and then all of you who've been donating and really are here for that tonight. So Jazakumullah khair for that, and I want to say a takbir for all of you what you've put in. So takbir. Allahu Akbar. Now, this program's overviewing and making sense and making sure all these programs happen in a coherent way, I know we have challenges around that, but in as much as we can, the vice president of our board is also our volunteer program director, Sister Iman Atif. She was supposed to MC tonight, and she's a tremendous hard worker, but she's always very shy. So I couldn't convince her to MC tonight, but at least I'd like her to stand up so that we can, everyone can know who she is. But I'm sure she won't agree. So I don't know where you're hiding, Sister Iman, but if you could stand up so that we could say Jazakumullah khair for overseeing all these programs. I know she's not going to listen to me. But anyway, so there's Dr. Iman Atif. She's on our board. She's also a professor at Massachusetts College of Pharmacy. So that's with just the programs and services. In the facility, a couple of key things have happened. One thing that many of you might be excited about, especially those of you who are eco-conscious, right after Ramadan, we're going to be beginning the installation of solar panels across the entire roof. And this solar system is going to cover 40% of the electricity needs of the entire center. And so I really want to hear a takbir for that. Takbir. So that's a tremendous, it's at no cost to us. We were able to avail ourselves of a program that'll be installed, and it'll relieve some of the electric utility bill, and of course, do our role as stewards of Allah's resources that He's given us so that we reduce our carbon consumption. So we have that coming up. Of course, you've seen the cafe evolve, and I know recently we've scaled back so that we can fully prepare and make it up to fully in line with all regulations. But the cafe has been doing a tremendous job. We have the men's wudu area, which I know we're all feeling the pain of. The brothers are certainly, and the sisters too, because they've been affected also. But we're completely overhauling that, because if you remember, it wasn't designed in a way that's conducive to this much traffic. So inshallah, it's going to be a lot better, bigger, more capacity, more faucets, cleaner, better water flow and all of that. So within the next 2-3 weeks, inshallah, we'll be done with that. So please, we want to support that effort as well. And many of you have probably not gone down, but in the basement, we've dedicated a portion of the garage area and remade it into a youth game area. So a lot of the teenagers certainly go down there. If you ask your teens, I'm sure they know very well about it. It has foosball, pool table, all this sort of stuff. And so that's what's going on there. And then lastly, we've started an endowment project. So far, we have about $550,000 in this endowment. Last year, it earned, because it had been coming up, it wasn't $550,000 the whole year, just a part of the year. So it earned about $20,000 last year. And now one of our partner institutions, Malik Academy, is looking to add to this endowment by purchasing a building adjacent to the ISBCC, which will earn rental income for Malik Academy of about $80,000 a year. It costs about $580,000. So one of the things that Malik Academy will be reaching out as part of this endowment initiative is soliciting some of your support for that. So do look out for that, inshallah. But this endowment service that we've created, we created it in such a way that we call it endowment in a box, so that any other Islamic institution, because it takes a lot to make a Sharia compliant endowment, we've created it in such a way that we can unpackage it out of a box and have it ready to go for other Islamic institutions. So if you're involved with other Islamic institutions and you'd like to reach out to your donors with an endowment in a box type of initiative, let us know. We can immediately get you started in no time, because we've done all the legwork for that. I was going to talk about all our media and political and civic impact, but time is short, so I'll let you find that on the website. But we've had tremendous media and political impact as well. Now, what I want to kind of close off with, I talked about that this new phase looking forward now is going to be with new young leadership. One of the key things we got is Imam Suhaib Webb, who's inshallah is going to do a tremendous job. And we also now just hired a new executive director who'll start in the fall. But before I speak about him, I wanted to ask, where did Brother Atif go? He was sitting right here. Brother Atif, you just stepped out, right? I think people know when I'm about to call on them and they get shy and they leave. But as many of you know, I had stepped down from executive director about 2 years ago when I went back to school full time. And Brother Atif courageously stepped up to the helm and kept the ship steady, the ship of the ISBCC steady for the last 2 years, playing the role of interim executive director. Brother Atif, can you please come up here? Or just, well, he's waving, he's shy also. But I'd like everyone, I want to make a dua for Brother Atif for the tremendous work that he's done over the last 2 years, keeping us steady during this time of uncertainty while we were trying to figure out how to get to the next phase. And of course, overseeing that we still have all these programs happen. So to show our appreciation to Brother Atif, we'll say Takbir, Allahu Akbar. So Jazakumullah khair. And now starting in the fall, Brother, we have a new executive director who I'm tremendously excited about. And that executive director is going to be Brother Yusufi Vali. So Brother Yusufi, if you would stand up. So, Jazakumullah khair. So Brother Yusufi, many of you already know him. He's no stranger to the community. He started, just a little bit about him, you can read about him in here also, but he studied Middle Eastern studies or Near Eastern studies at Princeton, and then he was a Marshall Scholar, which is the other scholarship like a Rhodes Scholar. So he was a Marshall Scholar and he studied at the London School of Economics. And then he worked on President Obama's campaign as one of the directors, managed a team of over 100 people and opened for Michelle Obama many times. And then opened for Michelle Obama. And then after that, he took a position at the Greater Boston Interfaith Organization as one of the key organizers there and led them to many victories, different political and civic victories. And now, inshallah, he'll be joining us. And the main strategic idea is the following. Imam Suhaib really inspires and educates us. And he draws so many people out here. All of you certainly come here to worship Allah, and also some of us come here to listen to Imam Suhaib as part of that, worshiping Allah, and many young talented people. But how do we take that talent and make it an institution? We need somebody with the skills of community organizing, of leadership building, and that's what Brother Yusufi's specialty is. So we look forward to building the institution of the ISBCC on that type of model. So that's what's going on at the ISBCC. I'm incredibly excited. And if you're excited, say Allahu Akbar. Jazakumullah khair. And now, we had a special treat that I wanted to show here of personal impact. So one of the things that I spoke about was the converts work that we do, the education about Islam. Out of that group, there are so many people who are so excited, but one young brother especially stood out that I really wanted him to share his story with you. So Brother Henry, if you would come up here briefly. Brother Henry is a young man. Brother Henry is a young man who, even though he's just graduating high school, right? Next year. Not even graduating high school yet, but next year he'll be graduating high school. But he has the wisdom to think way beyond his years and think about the serious questions in life. And recently he converted here at the ISBCC, but I wanted him to share in just 2 minutes some of his experience of what the ISBCC has meant for him.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Henry Chavez. I'm 16 years old, and I'm from El Salvador in Central America. Just 4 months ago, I accepted Islam here at the ISBCC with Imam Suhaib Webb. Today, I'd like to just briefly talk about how much the ISBCC means to me. And for those that are curious about my journey to Islam, I would be more than welcome to tell you about it if you come up to me. Being a convert is really challenging. Being a convert is really challenging. I come from a family that, like many Americans, has a really negative impression of Islam. When I first told my mom that I had become a Muslim, the first question she asked me was, when is the next 9/11? Implying that I would become a terrorist. I felt so empty, hurt, and just confused about how my parents were going to see me. At that time, the ISBCC was my refuge. I would come here, and it was like instant relief and comfort. The people were so welcoming, friendly, and just warm. They felt like family. Alhamdulillah, I was able to get through that phase, and that amazing part is that I was even able to convince my mom to come to the converts iftar on Wednesday. At the iftar, she got to experience the same kind of warmth, and she gradually started to see Muslims and myself in a more positive way. So I am grateful to God and the ISBCC for that. I am also grateful because I have been able to learn so much about Islam and grow my deen at the ISBCC, whether it's through qiyams, Friday sermons and prayers, Islam 101 classes, socializing with Muslims in the cafe, the Deen for Deen classes, or just meeting one-on-one with Imam Suhaib Webb. For example, one day at the Deen for Deen class, Imam Suhaib took us up to the garden just up the hill. I thought he was just going to make us water the plants or something. In the middle of our class, he asked all 35 of us, all 35 teenagers, to just lie in the plain dirt on the ground. I thought maybe he was joking, but he made us lie down and began to talk seriously. He began to ask us, are we content with what we are doing in our life? He said that one day, whether we like it or not, we would be in that plain dirt, not just in it, but underneath it. He explained to us that for the guys, all the gym work and the six-pack abs weren't going to do anything for that when we're in that dirt. And for the girls, all that mascara and makeup wouldn't do anything when we'd be deep beneath that soil. What would help us in the eyes of God while we were in the dirt would be our deeds, how we have conducted ourselves in this life. As I was lying on that dirt, it made me realize and really think and reflect about myself. I came to realize that everything I will do in this life is going to count, and it re-emphasized to me that my partying past and going out with friends wasn't such a big deal. It's just a fraction of our life. And it also made me realize that the things we take for granted and that I could pass away any moment, so I need to make every moment count. That's just one example, but as you can tell, the ISBCC means a lot to me. That's why my first ever paycheck working at the Boston Bar Association this summer, I myself would like to give $100, and I would like... And I want you all to give as much as you can because the ISBCC means a lot to me and fellow mates. Thank you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakumullah khair. Thank you, Henry, for sharing that. And we wanted to also share another testimonial. Sister Zoya Saeed, she's been an active volunteer at the ISBCC since she's been in college. She just graduated, but she wanted to share her experience as a young woman at the ISBCC.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Zoya, and I'm an accountant at BNY Mellon, and I just graduated from Suffolk. I love the ISBCC because it's a really empowering place for women. I have several friends across America who go to their local mosques. Although they participate in helping and volunteering with events, they are given the opportunity to play lead role. They are not given the opportunity to play lead roles like we here at ISBCC. Last year, when Imam Sohaib came on board, I decided to volunteer at the masjid. The Mass Boston staff asked me and a group of youths to meet with Imam Sohaib to help design the winter retreat program. I thought a 7'10" big and scary Imam Sohaib would dictate in the program what the program should be like and tell us where to help. Instead, he entrusted and challenged us to create the program on our own. He took our ideas seriously, and the final program ended up being a lot of which Yusra, Maliha, and I created. It was a really empowering experience, so empowering that I feel comfortable in leading other projects here at the ISBCC. Yusra, Maliha, and I, for example, are currently working on officially opening the Ella Collins Institution, which is the educational arm of the ISBCC. To sum up, I love the ISBCC. I mean, look at our board. Half of it's women. We women are leaders at the ISBCC. And that's why I'll be donating tonight to Mass Boston, and I encourage all of you to donate as well. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakumullah khair, Sister Zoya. Actually, one correction, more than a half of our board is women, and they do more work than the male members on the board. It's just that whenever we have this event, and for some reason they're always shy to speak up here, but they're doing a lot of the leadership work in the community. Now, with that, I mean, I was so moved by the fact that people have been personally touched in their lives, but I'm curious to hear from Imam Sohaib Webb. And so I ask all of you to join me in welcoming Imam Sohaib Webb. Imam Sohaib just reminded me, if you're wondering where Sheikh Basuni is, he's feeling ill tonight, actually, and he wanted to conserve all his energy for leading the Taraweeh prayers. So we remind all of you to remember him in your dua and to preserve his health and any of us who are sick. Ameen.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. A year ago, actually in August, I came to Massachusetts for a camp in Sharon. And there was a little rumbling going on in California, my local community, no need to open up that zip file. And I was looking to go somewhere else. There was no big problems, just some, I would say vision clashes. And Nancy and Bilal kidnapped me from the camp. I know Bilal is about half my size, but he did it. And the way that you kidnap me is lobster at the wharf. So they talked me into going there for lunch, and then suddenly Nancy looked at me and she said, listen, are you gonna come to Boston or not? So I was like, what are you talking about? And then Nancy, as Zoya so beautifully articulated, basically told me, you're coming to Boston or you're not leaving this place. She put it on me. And that was really the first of a series of conversations we had over the years about Boston. And my major concerns were the issue of vision. Buildings don't make people, and they're saying Imam Suhaib Webb entirely too much tonight. Imam Suhaib Webb is nothing without you. As a community, as volunteers, from Ryan taking the videos on Friday, to Muhammad Haq showing up after work, to the Ella Collins Institute to shoot, to an 18-year-old girl who just walked in my office an hour and a half ago and said, I believe in Allah and His Messenger. I want to become Muslim. I'm an Italian Catholic. I'm confused spiritually. So that conversation took place, and it was an issue of vision. So I didn't come here to be a superstar imam. I left a community where I was kind of perceived as a superstar imam. What I came to be here is someone who works with you so that we can improve our lives together as human beings and as Muslims. There's no one-man show, and I just want to stress that it's very important to believe that. And if you're asking, why should we be inspired? I came and visited. It was a covert visit. After that, I believe in October, I saw the community. I watched you from afar, along with other people who are watching us all the time, and was able to see where you're coming from, the fact that you are in an urban area. I went to an urban inner city high school, and then I lived for the last probably 16 years of my life with an immigrant community. So it was almost like coming back home to me. And I left inspired. And I called my wife in Malaysia and I said, baby, we found a spot. So she was like, Hawaii? Somewhere warm? And I was like, well, Boston. And she's like, I heard it snows like 18 feet in Boston. And then coming here, all of my expectations were met. I found young people extremely excited who obviously had very good parents, very good schooling opportunities. ISBCC is one of the few communities I've seen where we have too many volunteers. I mean, you have people talking about a volunteer to ask people to stop volunteering. And that is a testament to the community and to, first and foremost, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who put that in the hearts of the people. So why should you be inspired? I'll give you a few examples. Number one, the fact that you have a shift in how things are ran, I would say, in American Muslim communities, and Zoya is proof of that. That instead of directing our sole attention to the baby boomers, we believe that our primary investment should be people who are 40 and under, simply because they're going to be in it for the long haul. Secondly, as he said, in the last 6 months, you have 80 people convert to Islam. In the last 4 days, you had 3 people convert to Islam. Today, you almost had a 4th, and she said to me, I'm willing to convert, and I want to convert, but I'm scared of my parents. And I said, I was in your shoes 20 years ago, and you should come to grips with that, and when you're ready to convert, you do that. And then she said to me, Liana, something very beautiful. She said, but I need a community like as a security blanket. Because when you convert to Islam in America, you basically commit social suicide. And you have to fill that with something else. So why ISBCC? Henry is a proof of that. that this is a place where Henry can come and maintain some sort of equilibrium spiritually as well as in his educational and professional career. Number two, that ISBCC is a multi-ethnic community. I had a person in Boston say to me that if you look at all of the churches, and he called this a church, he didn't know it's a mosque. He said, your church and other Muslim churches are multi-ethnic and maybe the only multi-ethnic houses of worship in the city. And it's a testament that our diversity is a direct reflection of the transcendent unity of God. You are sitting in front of us now, proof of Al-Khaliq, this incredible diversity that he created. Number three is the need that we have to institutionalize goodness. Institutionalization of goodness and ideas is crucial for us as a community if we're going to leave a footprint in society at many levels and be ambassadors of the Prophet ﷺ. It will come through institutionalization. All of us have children here. We know how hard it is to raise our children. My son, who calls himself, I'm the son of the Sheikh, he calls himself that. But when Sheikh tells him, memorize, my son's like, I want to play video games. But when Abdurrahman Abdul Ghani or Zoya or another young peer tells him memorize, he says, oh, memorizing is cool. So I need an institution to raise my children, just like you need an institution to raise yours. So you talk about inspiration, you are sitting at a historical, incredibly powerful place that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed to be constructed. And I will say this, I've only been here 8 months. Only 8 months. We really haven't gotten started yet. You know, the first 8 months are just trying to figure you guys out. And I'm still working on that, right? But we have so far focused on the youth. By the next few months, we plan to focus more on the families, on those people who are raising their children, people who are struggling, you know, to make ends meet, and so on and so forth. So what I say to you is don't expect Yusufi or Suhaib to do this. That's a problem. Don't tell me, idhab anta rabbuka faqatila. Don't tell me that. We have to hold each other's hands, and that's what Zoya, I remember when she came in my office and they were expecting me to say, do this, do this, do this, do this. But my teacher, one of my teachers from West Africa, he would always ask me, what do you think? What do you think about this? And I asked him, Sheikh, you're a sheikh, like he's a real sheikh. If you told me to do it, it's like Nike. I just do it. And he said, yeah, but then I haven't taught you. I've ordered you. But what I want to see is something. I want to see the beauty that Allah has put inside you come forward. So when they sat in front of me and I said, what do you think we should do? What should we teach? How should we do it? And one of them told me, we're not used to this. We're not used to this. Can you just tell us what to do? I said, no. I'm not going to tell you what to do except make biryani. I'm not going to tell you what to do. And we built this relationship. So I'll finish with a few important points. Number one, when you're contributing to ISBCC, you're contributing to a historical effort at many levels, a vision for Islam in America. We have to have a conversation about what is American Islam. How is Islam going to function in this society? As one of the converts said about this community here, and very similar to what Henry said, this is a community that I feel comfortable in. This is a community that when I walk in, people welcome me. Yesterday, 2 Chinese neighbors, Yu and Matthew, of course his name is not really Matthew, I found them walking in the lobby and they were just looking around and I said, hey, how are you? And they got really scared. They're like, oh, no, I said, don't worry, there's nothing you can do wrong here. And then I said, follow me. So I was taking them to the office and they said, where is he taking us? Like, what's going to happen? I remember when I first went to a mosque, I was saying to myself, the Arabs are going to kidnap me and put me in in the basement. I'm going to end up on Jazeera or something. Do you have these fears when you go to a mosque? They sat down in the office and I said, I'm the preacher here, like what we call imam, like iPad imam. Lupe Fiasco calls me imam. So I said to them, who are you? They said, we're your neighbors. I said, really? They said, we don't even know why we're here. We just walked in. And I said, what brought you here? They said, you guys play this beautiful song. There's this song, like every once in a while in the day, there's this really cool song. and it touches the soul. And I said, that's the adhan. They're like, what's that? I said, that's our call to prayer. They said, that's why we came here. Something pulled us both here. And then we had this conversation about Islam and Muslims. And they said something very beautiful. Exactly what Henry said. When we walked in, people smiled. When we walked in, people were warm. Our greatest gift to society is not to threaten them with religion, but is to cause them to love religion through our ethics and our character. To be endeared to God and endeared to humanity. So when we're talking about supporting ISBCC, we're not talking about living this in this masjid only. And I'm sure Yusufi echoes this because we know each other very well. We need to live our mosque in the wild. We need to spread this gift to people around us through the building of institutions. And that involves the energy of the youth and the gray wisdom of the older people. So I don't think there's much that needs to be said. I left the Bay Area for Boston because you inspired me. That's why I came here. I spied on you for a while. You didn't know about it, but I did. And I left inspired. The question is, can we continue to move forward? Not allow shaitan to come between us. Not allow egos to come into play. Don't praise me too much. I don't like all this Imam Suhaib Webb stuff. I like ISBCC, the Muslim community, the Basra Muslim community. We as an ummah, not we as individuals. So as I finish, I'll remind you of a salient point, that we have to move beyond being proud of our community to realize that ultimately all the goodness that comes to us is from Allah alone. وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. So when we see the greatness and success of this community, we do not attribute it to ourselves, but we attribute it to Allah. And when we attribute it to Allah, that means we realize we have been entrusted with a divine responsibility to take care of this deen and to take care of this institution. So I encourage all of you to support, because institutions cannot function without money. That's a reality. No one should be shy of that. So I encourage you to understand that you are contributing to a historical effort, that we hope there will be platonic shifts in America. You talk about women being on our boards. I've seen masajid, unfortunately, that have it written in their constitution that women can't even be on the executive committee, let alone the board of the masjid. So as we are moving forward, we encourage you to take us by this hand of ours, to move forward, to look to the future of Islam in this country, to invest for our children, for our young, so that when we leave this earth, we will be as those, as the riwayah says, كَيْفَ نُعَذِّبُهُ تَحْتَ الْأَرْضِ. How can we punish him under the earth? And he has a righteous parent above it, a righteous child above it. We ask Allah to bless each and every one of you. But I moved here because of this incredible community and the inspiration that I saw. When I first moved here, all these young people put my books up, although they were all wrong. You know, they had Lisan al-Arab wa Tafsir Ibn Kathir. But I remember they said, we're just so excited, we just want to put your books up. I said, fine, how do we do? No problem, good job, mashallah. But that inspiration, and we ask Allah to encourage, to allow us to have this inspiration more and more. This is the tawfiq of Allah. And to allow us to be inspired to move beyond our egos. The ego is what will destroy us. No mosque was destroyed because of the building. All mosques were destroyed because of the people. And no mosque was successful because of the structure. All mosques were successful because of the people. The Prophet's mosque did not even have carpet. They used to pray on dirt. But still, a light shone from that mosque that changed the entire world. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. Bless us to want to give. Bless us to want to support his cause. In tansurallah yansurkum. Wassalamu alaikum rahmatullah.